steps in this understanding our historical and constitutional background. Remember that Congress shall make no law? Any of you run by Congress? No. The 14th Amendment was necessary to make the connection between the First Amendment and those of us who work for libraries that are created and operate under state law. The 14th Amendment, which was to make sure that the full liberties of this country were available to the recently freed slaves, doesn't say a bit about slaves in its wording. And it doesn't say that because of the influence of what happened during the Civil War. Individuals from the South who opposed the war or opposed slavery were thrown in jail. They thought the First Amendment would protect them because what they were doing, I'm talking about people that it was speech which was their crime, not actions. But the First Amendment didn't cover the states, and it was state laws that put them in prison. Consequently, the 14th Amendment makes it clear that all individuals under the jurisdiction of any of our states must be provided, may not be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law or equal protection of the laws. So if you belong to if you work for an institution that is a state established creature, that means local government too, then the First Amendment also applies to you. And then there was the Fifth Amendment, a clause of which says no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And that 14th Amendment talks also about equal protection of the laws. So this brings up the issue of equity and equal. This is an equal protection. What is equal protection? Well, I'm not going to go into the long jurisprudence history of that and determining it. Equal, of course, implies everybody the same. But the courts have recognized that everybody the same doesn't always work. What's the same are the liberties, not the means by which you get those liberties. And so when there are cases that different conditions have to be established for people to be able to have that equal protection, then we get into the equitable. And almost most of what you all do is in the realm of equitable. And sometimes that's hard to defend, I know that, and we'll talk a little bit about that because that's part of the intellectual freedom framework. There's one other thing too. I'm going to get to the end of this soon. The 9th and 10th Amendments. Anybody know what the 9th and 10th Amendments contribute to this dialogue? We are a limited government. Congress can exercise only those powers that are established for it in the Constitution as determined and interpreted by the U.S. Supreme Court. And if that weren't clear enough, the 9th Amendment says, the enumeration in this Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. The 10th Amendment says, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectfully or to the people. So, your state constitutions can provide you with greater individual liberties than that is provided by the Bill of Rights as interpreted by the U.S. Supreme Court. And many of our states do. The Western